Let me tell you about the moment I realized I was completely screwed. I am standing in the grocery store checkout line with exactly $23.47 in my checking account. My cart has $31 worth of actual necessities, not fancy stuff. Just rice, beans, eggs, and the cheapest peanut butter they sell. The cashier starts scanning. $15, $22, $28, and I'm doing that thing where you pretend to check your phone while frantically calculating whether you can put back the eggs and survive another week. Sound familiar? Because here's what nobody tells you about making minimum wage. It is not just about having less money. It's about living in constant financial anxiety. Every purchase feels like a math problem. Every unexpected expense, like your car needing gas when you thought you had 3 more days, feels like the end of the world. But here's the thing that changed everything for me. I discovered that budgeting on minimum wage isn't actually about making more money. It's about making the money you have work smarter. And today, I am going to show you the exact system that took me from overdrafting twice a month to having a $500 emergency fund all while making $12.50 an hour. No side hustle required. No cutting out every single thing that makes life worth living. Just a different way of thinking about the little money we do have. The brutal reality check first. Let's be honest about what we're working with here, because I'm tired of financial advice that pretends everyone makes $75,000 a year. Minimum wage in most places is around $12 to $15 an hour. Let us say we're lucky enough to get 35 hours a week, because, God forbid, they give you full time and have to provide benefits. That's roughly $1,800 a month before taxes. After taxes, you're looking at about $1,400 to $1,500 if you're lucky. Now here's where every other budgeting video would tell you to just cut expenses. But cut what exactly? Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in most cities, $800 to $1,200. And before you say get roommates, I tried that 3 times. Turns out sharing space with strangers who leave dirty dishes for weeks isn't the mental health win you'd expect. So let's say you find something for $700. You've got $700 to $800 left for literally everything else. Food, gas, phone, insurance, laundry, toothpaste, the occasional cup of coffee that keeps you from having a breakdown at work. And here's what really gets me about traditional budgeting advice. It assumes you have wiggle room. Just save 20% of your income. Cool. 20% of $1,400 is $280. Except after rent and basic survival, I've got maybe $200 left total. Build a 6-month emergency fund. Sure. Let me just pull $8,400 out of thin air. Stop eating out. I'm eating ramen and peanut butter sandwiches, Karen. What exactly am I supposed to cut? This is the reality. When you're on minimum wage, traditional budgeting advice isn't just useless, it's insulting. It makes you feel like you're failing when really, you're trying to solve a math problem that doesn't add up. But here's what I figured out. The problem isn't that we don't make enough money. The problem is that we're using rich people's budgeting strategies on poor people's budgets. We need a completely different approach. One that acknowledges that sometimes you have to choose between gas and groceries. One that plans for the fact that your hours might get cut. One that doesn't make you feel like garbage when you spend $5 on something that makes you feel human. And weirdly enough, once I stopped trying to budget like I made $50,000 and started budgeting like I made $18,000, everything got easier. The minimum wage budget system. Okay, here's the system that actually works when you're broke. I call it survival first, dreams second. And it's probably the opposite of every budgeting method you've heard. Most budgets start with percentages. 50% housing, 30% wants, 20% savings. But when you're on minimum wage, percentages are meaningless. You need a priority system instead. Here's how it works. Priority 1. The 4 pillars. These are non-negotiable survival needs. Rent, minimum food, transportation to work, and your phone. That's it. Not healthy organic food or reliable transportation. Just the bare minimum to keep you housed, fed, mobile, and employable. For me, this looked like $650 rent, $80 groceries, $60 gas, $40 phone, total $830. Everything else is priority 2 or lower. Priority 2, breathing room. This is $50 to $100 for the stuff that keeps you sane and functional. Laundry money, basic toiletries, the occasional $3 coffee when you're about to lose it at work. Not luxuries, mental health necessities. Priority 3, the oh shit fund, even $20 to $50. Here makes a massive difference. This isn't a real emergency fund, it's your my car needs gas, but I miscalculated fund. Your I am working a double A and need to eat some nutty Zoom peanut butter fund. Priority 4, everything else. Want to save money? Great, but only after priorities 1, 2, 3 are covered. Want new clothes? Awesome, priority 4. Want to go out with friends? Love that for you, priority 4. Here's the magic. You fund these priorities in order. Every single payday. Not monthly every payday. Because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, monthly budgeting is a joke. So payday comes, you've got $750 after taxes. Priority 1 gets $415, half your monthly survival costs. Priority 2 gets $25. Priority 3 gets $20. Priority 4 gets whatever's left, maybe $290. But here's the crucial part. If priority 4 is 0 some weeks, that's okay. You're not failing. You're surviving. And survival is success when the math is this tight. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most weeks, you'll have some priority for money left over because you planned for survival first. That leftover money, it automatically becomes next week's head start. Suddenly, instead of always being behind, you're occasionally ahead. Instead of every expense being a crisis, you have tiny buffers built in. And psychologically, this changes everything. Because when you know your survival is covered, spending $10 on something nice doesn't feel like financial suicide. It feels like a choice. The old way. I have $100 left, but I need gas, money, and groceries, and oh God, what if my phone bill is higher this month and I hate my life? The new way. Survival is handled. I have $47 in priority for money. I can buy those cookies that are on sale, or save it for something bigger, or split it between both. See the difference? Same amount of money, completely different emotional experience. The psychology hacks that actually work. Here's what nobody tells you about being broke. It's not just a money problem, it's a mental health problem. When every dollar matters, every spending decision becomes emotionally loaded. But I figured out some psychological tricks that make this whole thing way more manageable. Trick 1. The penny perspective. Instead of thinking in dollars, think in pennies per hour. That $5 coffee at $12 hour. That's 25 minutes of work. Still want it. Fine, but now you're making an informed choice, not an emotional one. I started asking myself, is this thing worth X minutes of my life at a job I do and love? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but always a conscious decision. Trick 2. The 2-store strategy. I shop at exactly 2 places. Aldi for groceries, Dollar Tree for everything else. Not because I love limiting my options, but because decision fatigue is real when you're broke. When you're comparing prices on literally everything, shopping becomes exhausting. 2 stores, learned prices, in and out. My grocery trips went from stressful treasure hunts to boring routines. Boring is good when you're budgeting. Trick 3. The celebration fund. This sounds crazy, but stay with me. I budget $10 to $20 per month for something completely unnecessary that makes me happy. Sometimes it's fancy shampoo. Sometimes it's a magazine. Sometimes it's ice cream that's not on sale. Why? Because deprivation doesn't work long term. If you never, ever spend money on anything fun, you'll eventually snap and blow $100 on random stuff. Better to plan for small joys than ignore human nature. Trick 4. The tomorrow rule. Wants something that's not in the budget. Wait until tomorrow. Not forever, just tomorrow. About 70% of the time, I realized I didn't actually want the thing. I was just bored or stressed or trying to feel better about something else. The other 30% of the time, I still wanted tomorrow, so I figure out how to work it into priority 4, or I start saving for it specifically. Trick 5. The energy audit. This is huge. I started tracking not just where my money goes, but how much energy. Different money decisions cost me. Driving across town to save $3 on groceries, high energy cost, low money benefit. Buying the generic brand that tastes 90% as good, low energy cost, decent money benefit. Some money saving strategies are worth it. Others just make you tired and cranky for minimal savings. When you're already stressed about money, preserving your mental energy is just as important as preserving your cash. Trick 6. The paycheck buffer. Here's the game changer. I pretend I make $50 less per paycheck than I actually do. That money goes straight to priority 3, the Oshette fund. Before I even consider it part of my budget, it tests not savings. In the traditional sense, it tests crash padding for the inevitable weeks when everything goes wrong at once. Your hours get cut, and your car needs gas, and you run out of food 2 days early. Instead of overdrafting or borrowing money, you've got $50 to $100 sitting there ready to handle real life. And here's the beautiful part. After a few months of this, you start to feel less anxious about money. Not because you have more of it, but because you have systems that work with your actual reality instead of against it. The mindset shift, it changes everything. The biggest breakthrough I had wasn't about money at all. It was about redefining what success looks like when you're reworking with minimum wage. Society tells us that financial success means saving 20% of your income, having 6 months of expenses saved, investing for retirement. And when you can't do those things on $12 an hour, you feel like a failure. But that's like judging a bicycle for not being a car. Different tools, different purposes. When you're on minimum wage, success looks different. Success is making it through the month without overdue. Success is having $20 in your pocket when something unexpected happens. Success is buying groceries without anxiety. Success is being able to say yes to a friend's birthday dinner without panicking about money for 3 days afterward. These aren't consolation prizes. These are real achievements that make life significantly better. And here, as wild. Once I started celebrating these smaller wins, instead of beating myself up for not having a 401k, I actually started making better money decisions. Because shame is a terrible financial advisor. When you feel bad about your financial situation, you make emotional decisions. You buy stuff to feel better, or you avoid dealing with money entirely. But when you're proud of managing a tight budget well, you make logical decisions. You start seeing challenges as puzzles to solve, instead of evidence that you're failing at life. I also stopped comparing my financial situation to people who make 3 times what I make. That's like comparing your high school basketball skills to LeBron James' completely different leagues, completely different resources. Instead, I started comparing myself to where I was 6 months ago. Am I handling money stress better? Do I have more breathing room? Can I handle small emergencies without falling apart? The answer started being yes, and that felt way better than constantly measuring myself against some impossible standard. Here's another mindset shift. I stopped seeing minimum wage as temporary, not because I don't have bigger goals, but because planning for someday when I make more money was keeping me from learning to manage money now. Rich people are good with money because they have money. They have money because they got good with money first. Those skills scale up. Learning to manage $1,400 a month well prepares you to manage $2,800 a month well. But if you're always waiting for more money to solve your money problems, you never develop the actual skills. Then when you do get a raise, you just have the same spending habits with a bigger budget, which means the same stress level. The goal isn't to stay on minimum wage forever. The goal is to master the money you have right now, so that when you do earn more, you're ready for it. The challenge, alright? Here's your challenge end. I promise it's designed for real life, not fantasy budgeting land. For the next 2 weeks, I want you to try the priority system with whatever money you have coming in. Don't try to revolutionize your entire financial life overnight. Host treaties week 1. Write down your 4 pillars: rent, minimum food, transportation, phone. Calculate what you need per paycheck to cover these. This is your priority 1 number. Week 2, add priority to breathing room. And priority 3, oh shit fund. Even if it's just $10 each, that's fine. You're building the system, not the amounts. Here's what I think will happen. You'll probably discover you're already spending more than you thought on priority 1 items. That's normal, most of us are. But knowing the real number is better than guessing. You'll feel weird planning for small emergencies instead of hoping they don't happen. But after the first time you need gas and actually have the money set aside, you'll be converted. You'll realize that having a system feels way better than winging it, even when the amounts are small. And most importantly, you'll start making spending decisions from a place of awareness instead of anxiety. Look, I'm not going to promise this will make you rich. I'm not going to tell you that budgeting on minimum wage is easy or fun. It's not, but I will promise you this. Feeling in control of the little money you have is infinitely better than feeling like money controls you. You deserve to make it through the month without financial panic. You deserve to handle small emergencies without borrowing money. You deserve to buy something small that makes you happy without 3 days of guilt. These aren't big dreams. They're basic human dignity. And they're absolutely achievable, even on minimum wage. So here's my question. Are you ready to stop feeling ashamed about making less money and start feeling proud of managing it well? Because I promise you, mastering money on minimum wage makes you tougher, more creative, and more resourceful than people who never had to learn these skills. Drop a comment and let me know what your biggest money stress is right now. I read every single one, and I promise you're not alone in whatever you're dealing with. We're all just trying to make it work with what we've got. Might as well make it work as well as possible. You've got this. Even when it doesn't feel like it, especially when it doesn't feel like it, you've got this.